everyone, this is Helloangel.design. Today we are making this sleeveless beautiful dress step-by-step tutorial. It's a 2-layer gathered skirt, and I will take you all the way how you can achieve your dress making. Subscription is free. Thumbs up on our video and comment down below. If you're a new beginner, I would recommend that you try making this dress. If you'll be making the dresses before, I also recommend that you try it out. Grab your basic pattern paper and let's adjust the pattern and put the dress together. Let's get started. First thing that we have to do, we are going to adjust our pattern. I placed my pattern paper on a different paper. I just trace it all out. This is the front and this is the back pattern. So I will put the back aside and let's adjust the front. For the shoulder, I'm going to reduce a little bit from the shoulder. So from the shoulder, I will place my measuring tape. I'm going to reduce about 0.5 centimeter right here. And I'll come down to the armhole. I will repeat the same process. I'll reduce about 0.5 centimeter. Once you take the measurement, the next thing that you have to do, you take your armhole curve, you just connect the armhole together. I have connected the armhole together. The next thing that we have to do, we are going to reduce from the neckline. This dress that we are making, there is no zipper at the center back, there is no buttonhole. So what I'm going to do, I'll place my measuring tape at the neckline. I'm going to measure down 4 centimeters. If you're using inches, you can measure 1.5 inch or 1.75 inch, depends on how deep you want your neckline to look. So this is it. Once you have done that, before you connect it together, you can see the shoulder right here is kind of pointing out. I will place my measuring tape like this. I'm going to measure down 0.5 centimeter. Once you measure that, take your ruler. You're going to connect that 0.5 down to the new armhole. You place it like this and then you connect that. I have connected down. The next thing that we have to do, we are going to connect the neckline. So what we are going to do, this is the 0.5 centimeter that we take before. I will place my ruler and I will connect it down. So I'm going to have a V neckline. If you don't want to have a sharp V neckline, you can also place your armhole curve like this. You can connect it down. So I'm going to be using my armhole curve from there and I will connect it down to that 4 centimeter that we take. I have connected down. The next thing that we have to do, from the waistline, I'm going to reduce a little bit from the waistline. So from the waistline, I'll place my measuring tape. I'm going to measure 2.5 centimeter or 1 inch. You just measure it down 2.5 centimeter or 1 inch. Once you have taken that measurement, you take your ruler, you connect it down. I have connected together. What I'm going to do, I will take my scissors and then I will cut it out. I have cut it out. The next thing that we have to do before we cut the neckline out and trim out the armhole, you have to add your seam allowance and ease, because this dress do not have zipper or buttonhole. So I'm going to add ease at the side seam. So what I'm going to do, so for the side seam, I'm going to add 2 centimeter. So 1 centimeter will be my ease. 1 centimeter will be sewing the dress together. Once you have added your seam allowance and you have connected them together, you just connect both the armhole together. You just go ahead and connect them together. I'm going to do, I will add seam allowance and the armhole, shoulder and neckline. Remember, this is the center front. You don't add seam allowance at the center front. So once I have added all my seam allowance, I will cut out my pattern paper and then I will place it on my fabric and cut it out. The next thing that we have to do, we are going to adjust the back pattern. So what we are going to do, we are just going to repeat the same process that we did at the front pattern. For the shoulder, I'm going to take out 0.5 centimeter is right here, And for the neckline, I'm going to also place my measuring tape. I'm going to take out 0.5 centimeter. Is right there. So what I'm going to do, I will take my armhole curve and connect it down to the armhole. I have connected down to the armhole. The next thing that we have to do, we are going to take the measurement for the neckline. So what you are going to do, you place your measuring tape at the neckline like this. I'm going to measure 8 centimeter. So you place your measuring tape, you measure 8 centimeter. If you're using inches, you can measure 3.25 inch. If you want it more deeper, measure 3.5 inches. So once I am done with that, I will take my armhole curve. If you guys remember, when we are measuring the neckline for the front, I use armhole curve. You don't have to use armhole curve, you can use your ruler, but I want to use my armhole curve. You place your armhole curve, you're going to connect it all the way down to the neckline. So I have connected down. This is how it is. You can also use your ruler. Just place your ruler like this, and then you go ahead and connect it down. You can see that there is a little bit excess right here. This is my armhole curve right here, and this is my ruler. I think both ways are very good. The next thing that we have to do, we are going to measure inside from the waistline. So I am taking 2.5 centimeter or 1 inch. Once I am done with that, I will take my ruler and connect it down. I have connected down. The next thing that we have to do, I will take my scissors and cut it out. I have cut it out. The next thing that we have to do, from the side seam, we are going to add our ease and seam allowance. So I am going to be adding 2 centimeter seam and sewing allowance. So 1 centimeter for ease, 1 centimeter for stitching the dress together. So you just go ahead and add it. Once you have done that, take your ruler, connect the mark together. I have added my seam allowance at the side seam. What I'm going to do, I will take my scissors and cut it out. You can either add seam allowance on your pattern paper, or you can also add seam allowance when you are cutting your fabric. So I will just go ahead and cut it out. When I place my pattern paper on my fabric, then I will add seam allowance at the neckline, shoulder, armhole. Remember, the center back is going to be on fold. You are not cutting 2 pieces because there is no zipper or buttonhole. That is why we make the neckline a little bit more deeper. I have cut out my top dress. This is how it is. This is the front and the lining, and this is the back and the lining. So when you are cutting your fabric, make sure to mark the front because they both have V neckline. If you don't mark the front, you can hardly tell which side is the front and which side is the back. I have marked mine. This is the front, so I know that this is the front top dress. I have also cut out my skirt. This is how it is, and the skirt is 2-layer skirt. What you are going to do, take the total waistline of your top dress, times that by the measurement that you get. That will be the width of your skirt. To get the length, so the way I do it, the length of my skirt, I divide that into 2. So I cut half of this and half of this. So what you are going to do, if you want your bottom skirt to be longer, what you're going to do, you can minus from the first skirt length. This is my first skirt. I will place my measuring tape. The length is 22 centimeter or 8.75 inch. The width of the skirt will be your waistline top dress times 2. So this is it. And the second length of my skirt is longer. The second length of my skirt is 27.5 centimeter or 10.75 inch. To get the width of your skirt, you take your first skirt, take the total weight, times that by 2, and then that will be the width of your second layer skirt. First thing that you have to do, you open your front top dress, and I'll put the lining on top of it. I am going to stitch the neckline and the both armhole. Once I am done stitching, I will take my scissors, snip around the neckline and the armhole. take it to my ironing board and give it a good press. Make sure to turn your dress inside out. And I will also take the back pieces, both front fabric are facing each other. I will stitch the neckline and the armhole together. I have stitched the both neckline and the both armhole. I turn it inside out, take it to my ironing board and give it a good press. The next thing that we have to do, we are going to turn one of the top dress inside out. This is the front of my top dress, this is the back. So I will pick the back pieces, I'm going to turn it inside out. So this is how it is. The next thing that I'm going to do, I'll pick the front pieces, I'll place my pin at the shoulder, and then I will open the back pieces like this. I'll push the shoulder inside the shoulder of the back top dress. So you just push it in, put your hand inside and pick it out. Remove the pin and then fix your shoulder properly. Once you have done fixing the shoulder seam of your top dress, take your pin and secure the both shoulder together. Once you have secured the both shoulder together, you pick your pin again, place it at the second shoulder, push it inside the back of the shoulder, and then pick it out, fix it properly. Once you have done that, pin them together. I have pinned both shoulder together. The next thing that you have to do, take it to your sewing machine, stitch your both shoulder with 1 centimeter seam allowance. Depends on the seam allowance that you add on your fabric. Once you have done stitching, trim a little bit out from the seam allowance, turn it inside out and give it a good press. Once you have done that, the next thing that we have to do, we are going to put our skirt together. So this is my first layer skirt. I'm going to put the both front fabric together. This is the back, this is the front. Put the both front fabric together like this. I will stitch the side seam, and then I will come down to this other side, put the both side seam together. I will stitch the side seam. Once I am done with that, I will set my sewing machine to the longest stitch. I'm going to stitch a gather stitch thread at the top edge of my first layer skirt. Once I am done with that, and then I will take the second layer skirt, I'm going to put all the pieces together at the same time. So what you're going to do, you pick the front pieces, you're going to put the both side seam of the fabric together, put them together, stitch the side seam with your seam allowance. Once you have done that, then you pick the back pieces, put them together. You are going to stitch the side seam with your seam allowance. Make sure that both front fabric are facing each other. Once you have done that, also repeat the same process all over again. Stitch the side seam with your seam allowance. Once you have done stitching that together, you come down to this at the end of the fabric, you put the side seam together. Then you will have a big roll of fabric. Once you have done that, set your sewing machine to the longest stitch. You're going to stitch a gather stitch thread at the top edge of your skirt. I have stitched the shoulder seam together. I turn it inside, I'll give it a good press. This is how it is. And I'll stitch my skirt together. I overlock the both raw edges, stitch a gather stitch thread at the top edge. The next thing that we have to do, we are going to put the side seam of the top dress together. So you pick the side seam like this, put them together. Both front fabric are facing each other. You are going to top stitch with your seam allowance. My seam allowance is 1 centimeter, and I will go ahead and top stitch, and I will come down to this other side of the side seam, put them together, top stitch with my 1 centimeter seam allowance. Once I am done stitching, I will turn it inside out, take it to my ironing board and give it a good press. I have stitched the side seam of my top dress. I take it to my ironing board, give it a good press. This is how it look right now. This is the front of the top dress. This is the back of the top dress. The next thing that we have to do, we are going to gather our first layer fabric at the waistline of the top dress. So what you are going to do when you're going to gather your skirt, make sure to separate your lining. This is my lining. I will push it inside and I will pick it like this. I will make sure that both side seam are facing each other. This is the side seam of my top dress. I'll put them together. Before you put them together, also make sure that both front fabric are facing each other. And I will secure the both side seam with a pin, and then I will come down to this side. This is the side seam of my first layer skirt. Separate your gather stitch thread and the side seam of my top dress. Put them together and make sure that they are matched and secure that with a pin. Once you have done that, the next thing that you have to do is to gather the skirt at the waistline of your top dress. I have gathered my first layer at the waistline of the top dress. This is how it is, and I've also pinned it all together. Take it to your sewing machine and top stitch with your seam allowance. Once I am done with that, I will remove the gather stitch thread, and I will also go ahead and gather the second layer at the bottom of the first layer. Make sure that when you're pinning them together, both front fabric are facing each other. Pin them together, gather it all around, take it to your sewing machine and stitch it with your seam allowance. Once you have done that, remove the gather stitch thread, take it to your overlocker, overlock the both raw edges, or use zigzag to overlock the raw edges. I have stitched my skirt at the waistline of the top dress. This is how it is, the first layer and the second layer. You can see how beautiful that is. This is the front of the dress, and I also take it to my overlocker. I overlock all the raw edges. This is how it looks. Once you have done that, the next thing that you have to do, you are going to hem your skirt. You fold inside half an inch or 1.3 centimeter, fold it again half an inch or 1.3 centimeter, and top stitch all around the skirt. Once you have done that, you open your dress. This is my lining. I have already folded inside half an inch or 1.3 centimeter. The seam allowance that you use to stitch your skirt at the waistline of the top dress, the same seam allowance that you will fold inside on your lining. So I have already folded my inside. What I'm going to do, I will just go ahead and pin it all around the waistline of the top dress. Once I am done pinning, I will take it to my sewing machine and top stitch. This is the final look of my dressmaking, and I have also hemmed the bottom edge. This is how it looks. Beautiful dress to make, step-by-step tutorial, easy dress to make. Please subscribe to our YouTube, like the video, share the video, comment down below if you have any question, and I will definitely respond to you. Thank you all so much for watching, and have a wonderful day. Bye for now.